Hey guys, what's up? It is me, Shebah Saturn. This is not a hair tutorial, but I figured that I have a lot on my mind and I wanted to share it with you all. And I figured we could just talk, like friends. Um, so I am in Los Angeles. I'm from East LA. And I am in Los Angeles at the home of my best friend and her husband, who's my brother. And that was like a fantasy that came true. My best friend, I've known her since I was 11 years old, since the 6th grade. And she's so my hero in so many ways. She's such a champion. And my baby brother and her fell in love, and they're getting married. So I am here to help celebrate, and I'm so excited and feel so privileged and lucky to be a part of their lives. And I'm just making this up as I go along with the hair. I don't know. And anyway, so I'm here and I'm super grateful and excited. And there are a couple things that I wanted to do on my channel. I'm going to be posting more. I want to share more with you all. Let's just talk like friends. Why not? Anyway, so there were a couple people who asked me to do a numerology video about the number 7. And I had a layover on the way here in Salt Lake City, which Salt Lake City, the lake is so beautiful. Utah, just Google it, Salt Lake City, Utah. And the people there were so nice. And I met an architect who wants to build a tiny home community. I met another woman who was like very much about emotional fortitude, and she shared with me how she was previously in a relationship of domestic violence and abuse and how she got out of it. And that was also very inspiring as well, because so many inspiring human beings. I think sometimes it's definitely important to I think sometimes we idolize, those who are continually on the big screen without remembering and considering, God, there's so many beautiful people in the world who do really amazing things, who have the capacity to inspire us if we just don't front. You know what I'm saying? Just don't front. Just be you to the best that you can, and don't front. And people will open up to you that way, and you get to learn a lot. So I had an opportunity to really indulge in my tarot book again and my numerology book. You guys know I've been studying for a long... That looks okay, right? Looks okay. You guys know I've been studying for a long time. Well, I mean, long time... I suppose not really. I suppose based on the astrological and the numerology community, I wouldn't necessarily say amateur or novice, because I've been studying for over 10 years. And there was a period of time earlier in my 20s where I actually took off from work and only studied numerology, astrology, and the tarot for a little over a year, and that was very enlightening. So I have some new information that I wanted to share with you. I do have a video up about the power of the number 6, how it is in alignment with implementation coming after the 5th house of the Leo. There are a couple things that I did that video because I had a viewer who asked me to do that video, and there are a couple other things that I felt were important that I wasn't able to include just because my mind wasn't there. So we'll go ahead and review. Again, I always say to remember numerology, astrology, or the tarot. Really anything, when you're studying anything, you want to remember it as a story. And that really helps because it helps you remember what the succession of the numbers mean. And helps you understand symbology and ground the symbology. I tend to work really well with the abstract, and I like symbols. So powerful. Okay, cool. So we'll review this as a story again. The number 1 is about leadership. Consider these keywords as reflections of the human experience from uninitiated or unaware, right? Having the light of God inside of you, or having the light of the universe inside of you, and yet at the same time you're building. So it's just stages of maturation, stages of personal growth, the stages of spiritual enlightenment, however you want to count that in your mind. So 1 is about self-initiation and leadership. 2 is about partnership. I review this every video. 3 is about communication. 4 is about organization. 5 is about love and recreation and creativity. And then the 6 is about implementation. And we're going to go on to the 7 today. And the 7 is all about analytics. So I was saying the 7 is, I have my Mary Kay foundation here. This is not a makeup tutorial. I just figured, hey, I'm doing my getting creative here with my makeup, and I might as well talk to you at the same time. Why not? So 6 is about implementation, and 7 is all about analytics. A mantra for the 7 is I weigh, and it's also echoing the sentiment of the 7th house, which has everything to do with the scales and the Libra. As you know, Libras are definitely overthinkers. They have the power of their mind, and Libras are very appreciative of the arts and also very mental. Now Libras, you may not think that they necessarily go hand in hand, but you have to consider the ruling planet, because every house has a ruling planet. So Libra's ruling planet is Venus. It shares a ruling planet with Taurus. So because of that, Venus is very much about love and romance and how you show love, your personal magnetism, what you appreciate, beauty, the arts. And so if you think about it, if you know any Libras in your life or people with the 7 energy, they really appreciate proportion. They appreciate design, and they're very, very analytical. And the analysis comes from the symbol of the weighing of the scale. So you're continually filtering in information and deciding whether or not how to manage and negotiate new information. 7s are also databases, very, very quick thinkers, and they're very philosophical, very introspective. I wouldn't necessarily say introverted, but they're definitely always searching for the truth. Remember, the 7 comes right after the 6. So after you've implemented, now you want to evaluate and assess. So the key words for 7 energy are evaluating, assessing, in introspection. I almost want to say introverted, but that's not necessarily the case. They do feel very revived and rejuvenated by having a space to simply think about the world and the way in which it works. 7s are very piercing. They're very concerned with analysis and the inner workings of things. They're very sharp. What else can I say about the 7 energy? It's highly creative, according to Mayan astrology. Actually, Mayan astrology shows the pyramid here and shows 13 numbers, right? And so they show 1 at the bottom, 7 at the top, and 13. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is the top, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So the 1, the 7, and the 13. You have the leadership, which is the 1. You have the 7, which is all about analysis and having a sacred connection with the universe and the way it works, and constantly thinking and philosophizing, choosing a belief system, and a definitely direct connection with God and spirituality. And then you have the 13 at the bottom, which is the number of birth, death, and rejuvenation. Continual death and rebirth, and the power of the Jaguar feminine energy. So it's really fascinating. I'll talk to you about a couple 7s that I have in my life. My partner, shout out to you, baby. I love you. You're in Atlanta right now, doing your thing. Shout out to him. So 7s have a capacity to, they're highly creative people. And 7s have the capacity to translate the word of God. Or as they say, they are the technicians of the sacred. So they have a very direct connection with God. They tend to be, their aura tends to ooze a bit of mysticism. Now, these are general traits. You also have to remember that the 7 can come in your life in a lot of ways. You could just in particular be attracted to the number 7. Biblically, a biblical reference is, you rest on the 7th day. The earth was created within a certain time frame, and then you rest on the seventh day, so on and so forth. So the sevens that I know are constantly searching for truth. So sevens seek truth. Sevens like to research. Sevens like to analyze. Sevens like to think. They like to be mentally and intellectually stimulated. This is not to necessarily say that they are an intellect, but to say that they really like to consider different perspectives. They have an original way of thinking. They're not very easy. They have a healthy amount of skepticism. They're not very easily taken away by others. Very inspired because they have that direct connection with God. There's a system of evaluation and assessment that is always in the forefront of their mind. So for some people, as an example, you can tell them something and it penetrates right away. For the seven, they get it. However, they also have that grid there, that mental grid that allows them to say, okay, I have some healthy skepticism about this. I'm going to research this. I'm going to fact check this. I'm going to ensure that this is the appropriate information, because they really value truth. And I told this to, Quick the other day. I said, the one thing that the artist and the scientist have in common is that they're continually seeking for truth. So I think sometimes, society tries to put us in boxes and say that the scientists and the artists are not at two opposite ends of an ocean. But you have to remember that is still on that same line. So the artist is here seeking truth, and the scientist is here seeking truth. Their process of finding that truth and their methodology that they use is different. So the Mayans are also understand 7 is a very volatile number. And when they say volatile, they mean really high energy and high frequency. I forgot my mirror at home while I'm traveling, so I'm using the laptop, and I just thought I'd talk to you guys. So generally speaking, we can review the numbers from an emotional standpoint, emotional, spiritual standpoint, and psychosocial standpoint. So we can do that now. Sevens from an emotional standpoint actually tend to be, I find that they either tend to be either extreme. They tend to be very emotionally controlled and to themselves and guarded and a bit stoic, or they vacillate actually, because I have a lot of 7s in my life, and actually my birth name Andrea and my name that was given to me at 25, Shebah, they both add up to the number 7. So we're very passionate people, and we are people that can vacillate in extremes, which is why the Mayans regard that the number 7 as a very volatile number. I mean, just imagine somebody who has the capacity to channel and to be a vessel and to connect with God. That's someone who's going to have some high frequency energy, and someone who's continually going to be seeking a belief system from which to ground that volatility, right? Very much. If you're not a reader and you're a 7, then you like to research and you like to filter in new information. Anyway, so getting back to the topic of evaluating the numbers based on their psychosocial and their emotional, spiritual. So, where was I? Okay, so as I was saying, I look all cholad out, huh? Don't worry, I'm not going to leave it this way. As I was saying, the 7 from a psychosocial standpoint, from some psychological standpoint, they're the classic philosophers. They need a lot of time to themselves to understand the way the world works and make sense of things. They're thinkers. Okay. They're thinkers, they're philosophers, they're the highly sensitive, introspective observers. They're very observant, very analytical from a psychological standpoint. Now, this, of course, carries over into how the way that they behave socially, which is that they are very open-minded at the same time. Because they're always seeking to evaluate, they can be judgers. They call people on their bullshit really easily. And they know what they know, and they're not easily convinced otherwise. And because they have such a strong penchant and a strong capacity to continually assess what other people are saying, you can't get over on them very quickly. So they tend to be very slick and very socially adept and socially intelligent. Not necessarily highly social. That is depending upon other factors in your numerology chart, your birth chart, as well as the way you were born and the way that you were raised, right, in the home that you were raised in, because all of that factors in. But I will say that it's very hard to get one over on the sevens. They may not, if they have a bit of social grace, they may not call you out on your bullshit. But they may say it to their partner or their lover or their friends when they leave in the car or when they're walking down, like, man, that person was making no kind of sense. So they are very keen. They're very keen and adept at discrimination. And when I say discrimination, I mean based on the scientific definition of the word, which is to discriminate between fact and fiction. From an emotional and a spiritual standpoint, I mentioned the sevens have leanings toward extremes, so they vacillate between being very guarded and then being, these are very strong, dramatic displays of emotion. And that probably has to do with the repression. When you're constantly thinking, it does tax you emotionally. And so sometimes you end up overthinking and repressing your emotions. And then when an opportunity hits where you can no longer... oh, someone's calling me. Hold on. Hey, baby, I'm filming. Babe? Baby? I don't think you called me on purpose. Love you. And then when you have an opportunity, when you vacillate in between extremes, you're constantly overthinking. When you have an opportunity to display your emotion, either because you feel it's justified or because you can no longer hold it in, you can no longer hold back the dam, the dam is breaking, you can no longer hold back the emotion. It comes out in a display that is... sometimes is a little much. The positives of the seven, you're mystical. You have a really strong direct connection with God. It's a very private connection. You have you'll continually seek to learn throughout your whole life because you like to be stimulated. You also have a good eye for color and detail and art because of the ruling planet of Venus. You seek harmony for the most part, and you do your best to try and bring people together. Because you're so analytical, you understand different personality types, and because you have the direct connection with God, you tend to be more accepting than the average person of people who, more accepting of people from, let's say you can be in a room and you accept the diversity that is there and it intrigues you because you have that mind that's working. So highly spiritual, highly philosophical, someone who's going to, like I said, love learning and indulge in learning the rest of their lives, someone who appreciates the arts. I would say there's definitely some refinement here. And then in the negative, it's the overthinking and the using your powers of assessment to be judgmental rather than to have it broaden your understanding of humanity and offer more compassion. And then the sevens are also those who can sometimes be a little dogmatic and can be zealots, as they would say, when it comes to religious and spiritual doctrine, because they're constantly seeking a spiritual belief system from which to help ground their high frequency being a high frequency vessel and having that passion and that direct connection with God, they're always seeking a spiritual framework from which to help, from which to evaluate their lives to help them feel more calm. Because again, remember, the Mayans regard number 7 as a top of the pyramid, so very volatile. So they need that framework, and sometimes they try to push that framework onto other people if they feel like they found the final truth. Because remember, they're always seeking truth. Let me know. You know what? I just realized my Mary Kay, mineral thing has a mirror on it. So I started off using this as a mirror, and I'm going to use this. So let me know if this helps. I'm trying to be more in the moment and not necessarily, give you stream of consciousness and not necessarily over prepare. I just want us to be able to talk. So let me know what you think, if you like it. I have not, I did a lot of writing when I was on the plane on Saturday. However, I don't have my keyboard here with me, which makes me very sad. So I have to sing, and I'm going to need to do that. So that's what I'm going to do later. Big hugs, big love. Follow me at Shebah Saturn on Instagram. That's SHEBAH. The H for just a little extra drama, as they say. And then Saturn. SATURN. Shebah Saturn. And my blog, www.shebasaturn.blogspot.com. Much love.